bum ba 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 bum 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 bum. And get that open, and let's up onto here. And hello, those of you who are watching from later on in YouTube. Hello, Carlton. And don't forget, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. We got the sponsored by Anycubic. The Anycubic Photon is an amazing printer. Anyway, ignoring the fact that I have been pounced upon by a muggy that just wants his snuggles and loves his daddy, we are going to be today making a terrain piece. We're going to be making menhirs and standing stones. Okay. So, I'm just going to wait till we get some people in the audience over here. Yes, there's another kitty right here. It's Shinju. She's sound asleep. Alrighty. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Go into various... Hi! Hello, Emilio! Time for me to poke my head in and play a couple places and say, hey, I'm live! Yeah! So you ready to get stoned? Huh? Yes. I am doing fine, Emilio. Like I said, I'm going to be doing standing stones today. What it is there's a group of people, been around for a while, but they eventually had a diaspora and spread, called the Basque. B-A-S-Q-U-E. And they didn't call themselves that. I'm not sure what they called themselves, but it was the name applied to them. They have a type of giant called the Basajuan. I had to look up how to pronounce it. Or Basajuan. And basically, the best way I've heard it described is, imagine a 10 to 12 foot tall Chewbacca, but with the face of David the Gnome. And they sort of helped various culture here. Carlton, do you mind? They sort of helped various culture heroes of the Basque do things like learn how to smith, learn how to wood carve, and do other things like that. How to build houses. And one of the things that they were known for was building the standing stones in the area. So, to go along with the Basajuan, we are going to be making standing stones today. Carlton? Yes? Can you say menhir? Can you say menhir? I didn't think so. Yeah. He's a baby. That's all you is a baby boy, aren't you? Yeah. Anyway, once I get him down, and we get just a few more people over here in the chat, then I'm going to get started in making these standing stones. I plan on making three standing stones. Come on, let me put you down. The first one is going to be a single, by itself, what's called a menhir. A single stone, just standing there. The second, yes, exactly. The second is going to be like that. It's going to be 2 stones with 1 top piece. The third will be 3 stones with 2 top pieces. Do you mind? Get down! No! Get down! Now go! Hey, Shinju. Shinju. Are you gonna say hello to everybody out here? Hmm? Are you? So yeah, that's Shinju. Anyway, so yeah, we're rocking today, pun intended. And like I said, now we're waiting on a few more people to show up in the audience here. I see one. Meanwhile, I have sadly discovered the problem that I've been having with my anycubic photon. What you may or may not know is that first glance, it looks like Grendel came out well. Then you realize his feet are split, and they're split all the way up on this side. And the split goes deep. Goes all the way down the body. The reason is, let me go ahead and add in that image. I took this photograph of my screen today, and it shows what's wrong. Now the top one is the actual photograph. On the bottom, I made it black and white and increased the contrast a bit so you could more easily see it. You see that ring? I do not know if that... I know the ring is not on the surface of the glass. I do not know if that ring is on the screen or if it's on the film between the filter between the screen and the glass. The center of the ring prints fine. The outside the ring prints fine. Anything inside that ring fails. It's just blocking the UV light completely where that ring is. So, oh no, it's not on the FEP. That's without, as you can see up here, this is taken without the tank being present. The tank would be covering the darker outer rim right there. So, yep. So, like I said, I either have to replace my LCD screen or the filter between the LCD screen and the glass, and I don't know which, and I'm going to have to take that SOB apart to find out, which I'm not looking forward to at all. So, we are now up to 3 people. Now, what's going to happen is we're actually going to start in 3D Studio Max for this. There will be no DAZ Studio involved in today's project, simply because it's just straight up not a figure. It's raw geometry. And hello, Andy! So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we're going to pop over to 3D Studio Max. Now, this piece of geometry here that you see, this is something I made just for the heck of it. And the easiest way to explain it is every small step is a foot in scale. Every big step is 5 feet in scale. So the average figure should come to around this height right here. In fact, let's test that. Import. We're going to import from here. Broadcast, miniatures, old. We're going to import, let's say the Nordic Warrior. And without the base, he should come to, yep, he comes just above 6 feet. Not quite 7 feet, but just above 6. And that's also not taking into account that apparently he's ever so slightly off the 0. There. Yeah, so he's like, counting his helmet, he's like 6'5". Well, the reason we're using this today is that most of the stones we are going to be making are going to be about 10 to 15 feet tall. The smallest one will be the menhir itself. And the way this is going to work, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to estimate it's going to be about yay big, and we're going to go up to 10 feet. Which, according to this, brings it to about 55 millimeters. And let's go ahead and make it, oh, no, not 550, 55. Yeah, and let's make it about 18 millimeters wide. But actually, we need to make that a little bit, no, that's about right, by about there. Now, this is going to be our menhir. And it's just a simple block, but it doesn't look right. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make the height segments too. And convert it edible polygons. Grab those and pull them down. And then we're going to start basically just moving approximately how wide they need to be, because they're going to be, we can now hide our height estimator. And then we're just going to kind of basically sit here and make this kind of an irregular proportion, and then we're going to shrink the top a bit because we want the bottom to be a little bit bigger than the top. And we're going to add one more there, and what we're going to do is we're going to maneuver it ever so slightly. It's going to be off center just a bit. Okay, and what we get is this. We're now going to select this loop, and we're going to chamfer it slightly. Not a lot, but not a small amount either. Actually, we're now going to invert the selection, and we're going to chamfer it. We're going to chamfer them all. No, we're not. We're going to select these big guys, loop, and we're going to chamfer them a lot. Make them edges. the edges of the rough hewn stone. Then we're going to select this one, loop, and we're going to drop this in a bit. This is the basic shape that we're going to start sculpting on. So now, File, Export Selected, and this is going to go into 3D Printing Home, Meshes, Titans of Legend, Basajuan, and Menhirs. OBJ, base Menhir, and save. And it's only got 50 quads, so it's done pretty quickly. And hello, Mark! Now, poke my head in real quick. Oh, 5 people. Okay. Now, we're going into here, into ZBrush. And we're going to import, as I scritch my ears, from Titans of Legend, Basajuan, Menhir, and the base Menhir. We're going to draw it in. Now, it's looking okay. We are now going to subdivide it a few times. And one more. And we're going to Dynamesh. Oh, not that high. 256. Dynamesh, because we want this all to be even. We want as many quads to be even as possible. So, that's our basic shape. And I'm going to grab my tablet and come to a bit of a pause as I realize I forgot to plug my tablet back in. Tablet, not to be confused with a blade, because a blade of armor wears away, and hopefully your tablet doesn't wear away very quickly. And then I'm going to get the brush. I'm going to get the polish brush. Intensity 100, subtract. And we're going to basically just sit here and just sketch on the corner edges, or the edges of each of these sections, because what this will look like is chiseled stone. It's not going to be as rough there, but here it is. And this is just our initial rough chiseling. We're going to do a lot more damage to this thing before we're done. You can do the same thing to make bricks, cobblestones, or almost any other kind of carved stone. A block before sculpting, for example. Now, where have we ever seen one of those? You don't want to do too much because it'll wear away the entire look of the piece. But just the occasional, coming in. You can also shrink the mouse a bit to make it look a little bit rougher. Okay. Then we're going to do these last few pieces up here on the top. And again, this is just your basic initial. This is just the rough sculpting to make it look more organic. I know rocks aren't organic. It's euphemism, more naturalistic. Okay. Now, it's already looking more like a carved rock, just from me running over those edges with the polish tool. Now, I'm going to go to the clay buildup tool. I'm going to make it big. And I'm just going to, oh, way too big. And way too intense. I'm just going to come over the whole thing with just some erratic brush strokes. Because the Bosque weren't, you know, Roman grandmaster level of stonework. They were pretty good, but they weren't like, you know, we make the best stonework in the world. So especially not the primeval Bosque. So a lot of their ancient stonework kind of looks a little rough. And this is the kind of stonework that was supposedly made by the Basajuan. Kind of rough that up. Come over here, rough that up. Over here, rough that up. And up here. And up here. And finally down here. We're going to end up flattening the bottom of this, by the way, because we're going to want this to be able to stand. Now, going to the standard brush just to smooth it. And we're going to hit it like this. Shift and smooth. Okay. Now we're going back to the polish brush. And this time we're going to scatter all over. Actually, we need to make this bigger for this, because we want larger flattened chunks. Heavier angles. And what we're doing is we're adding a much more organic, again I use that word, a much more naturalistic, where this is something that's been standing in the rain and the wind and the weather for hundreds or thousands of years. And on top of that, it wasn't even made from perfectly smooth stone of the perfectly even consistency. This is primitively sourced stone. So we're talking, this is going to be very, very crudely cut. And it's got an uneven makeup. You know, at some places it's got a lot more smaller stones. In other places it's got a lot more chunks of granite. I mean, it might be quote-unquote granite, but it's certainly not pure. There's elements of other stones and other minerals in the top, inside it. And we're going to kind of wear that down. This is what we currently have as our initial stone. And we need to kind of come over here. And we're going to do this just so that we have something to work from. And we can see that this leaves us with things like cracks. Like cracks. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to use the Orb Cracks brush. Coincidence! And we're going to roughly come down and exaggerate some of these cracks. As well as some of the little holes that we get. And we can also kind of blend them in. And let's emphasize the depths of this one. Frame out, zoom out. We got a couple more hollows to exaggerate. And our end result will look a lot more rocky, or if you prefer, it'll look a lot like a potato. And here we go with just a basic rock that'll be sitting out in the middle of nowhere, except, well, first of all, we need to flatten the bottom. So to do that, we go over here to the Trim Rectangle. Control Shift Draw. And we want to make sure the entire bottom is covered, and bing! We now have a flat bottom. This is what's going to be on the print bed if you're printing this. Now the thing is, this isn't really enough. This is just a rock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find some Basque writing. Okay. Samples of early Basque writing. Let's make that ancient. Iberian. I found a sample of Iberian script. And as I said, the Basque come from the Iberian Peninsula. Specifically, they come from the area around the border of France and Spain. Let's visit that, because that doesn't look right. That's Greek, mathematical, Georgia. Northeastern Iberian script looks very runic. Then again, so does the southeastern, but that's more Andalusian. Southwest. Again, they tend to look almost Phoenician. Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to go ahead and just say, forget that. Oh. Andy, did you notice that towards the end of the Drider video, I added a horn to Roland? Anyway. Alright, what we're going to do is I'm just going to make them runes. We have them as cracks. I'm going to make them a little bit bigger and a good bit stronger. And I'm going to make sure that we have Lazy Mouse off for this. And I'm just going to pasa. There we go. Large rune carvings into the men here. And what we really need to do with this now, I'm going to export this as it is. Base men here, SC. Just so that I can use it to place some other rocks in 3D Studio Max. Let's delete it. File. Import. Go back down to Titans of Legend, Basajuan, Menhirs, Base Menhir SC. Now, what I'm going to do, first, we're going to have to assume that that is now the bottom. We're going to redo that whole bottom in just a little bit. That was just there for that. Alright, now I'm going to take a sphere. Take a large one, a small one, and another small one. Take a big one here. Take a really big one over here with a small one here, and another small one out here, and then one in front with a small one there. Alright, now that looks kind of meh, but what's going to happen is we're going to take all of these and move them up to about here, so that their centers are just above the bottom line. And what that's going to do for us, we have a couple here, is this is going to be pebbles and other rocks that kind of collect at the base of the menhir. You can already see the overall concept sitting around the base here. And now we're going to select this and delete it, because we don't need it. I'm going to take that, we're going to mesh smooth it. That's all. File, export, export selected. Base menhir rocks. Export. Done. Now we go back to ZBrush. We're going to append a subtool. We're going to import Base Menhir rocks. Okay. Now we're going into geometry and we're going to subdivide them a few times. And then Dynamax 256. One more subdivision. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to give these some shape with move, topological, and a bit of size. So for example, we're just going to grab this little one and kind of bring it over while we bring the big one over around and on top of it, and bring it down, bring it out. We just want to make some overall basic shapes here. Just some rough, rocky thingies. Up against the whole 9 yards. Okay, and we're going to frame, zoom out, and we can see that it's beginning to be rocky. Well, we're now going to hide the menhir itself, and we're going to come in here and we're going to re-dynamesh it, and then subdivide it a few times. Then we're going back to polish and shrink it down a bit. And we're just going to randomly stab all over these things, because it'll help change the look of them. What I really should do, yeah, let's go. Okay, yeah, let's do it from here, because it'll be a lot more. Oh, way too big. Alright, let's bring it down to there. No, still too big. And as we do this, we get even more rocky. Now this is the polished brush. Now the polished brush in many ways is kind of almost the polar opposite of the smooth brush. The smooth brush, the larger the brush, the less the result. The polish, the larger the brush, the more the result. And the harsher the result. Which for big chunky big chunky rock bits is what we want. Now we're going to make it visible. We can see it looks like rocks at the base now instead of just little blobs. We're going to go ahead, we're going to subdivide it twice. That'll do. Go to the actual menhir. We're also going to subdivide it twice, but now we're going to merge them together. Okay, now Control Shift, and it's going to trim. We're going to go a little bit higher than we did before, just only a fraction. And that is the base for our menhir. Orb Cracks 1. Now the difference between Orb Cracks and Orb Cracks 2 is this one has a tendency to do edges better. Alright, not edges, but the direct cracking is better. And what we're going to do is we're going to use that to no, I know what we'll do. We're going to draw a primitive drawing of a Basajan and the sun. And on this side, we've got a big crack. We are going to have another Basajan, but this time and an anvil. And another sun. Okay. So this is our basic menhir. We're also going to add in a little triangular, or not triangular, but angular sun above this side. Okay. So we have ourselves a nice little rough sculpted rocky menhir. We're going to go ahead and dynamesh it at 768 to try to retain most of this detailing. Then we're going to decimation master. And we're going to make it 35,000 triangles. Or 35,000 points, 70,000 triangles for the basic standing stone menhir. And this will be about 9.5 to 10 feet tall. Oh, computing, please wait. Oh, harsh you. Blah. Ah. Smooth that just for the sake of... I hate it when it does that. And then draw. And that's going to re-dynamesh it. As you see, it's now changed to 930. Now the next few won't have the rune casting or the carvings on them because they will be representing the actual standing stones, the two with the top stone. No. And there we go. We have 70,007. Okay, so we export menhir's new files as solo menhir. Not to be confused with Han Solo. Alright, so what did I miss? That's your excuse. You should have said that's your excuse. Okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and go back to 3D Studio Max. We're going to delete all these. We're going to unhide the height measurer. Now, what we're going to do for these stones, they're going to be a little bit more regular in shape, which means that they're going to be just more rectangular. Height segments 1. We're going to make them a little bit bigger. In this case, this means We're going to make them closer to 15. And then we're going to make them wider. Actually, no, we're going to make them narrow. We're going to leave them about there. And make them wider this way. Okay. Now, let's editable poly. And we're going to grab one vertex down there and kind of move it out a little bit. Grab another one. Move it to the side. Grab another one. And we're going to move it out, but more back than out. And then grab the last one. And just a little bit. And actually we need to bring this in. Because we don't need them quite as large. Actually, let's bring it in. Okay. Now this is going to be our basic base stone. Let's go ahead and hide him again. It's nearly 15 feet tall. And we're going to slide him over. We're going to effect pivot to the center object and X of 0. We're going to mirror it. Copy. We then reset transform and normal, collapse all, and effect center to object. Now we're going to rotate it 180 degrees. We're then going to move a copy up here, and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees so that we can make our capstone or topstone. We need to rotate just a little bit more to make that flat. And I'm going to slide these open just a bit because there needs to be kind of room on these. Like there used to be a second, another cap on each side. And we zoom out. Okay, as we can see, this doesn't quite look right. It needs to be narrow, it needs to be taller. So we're going to raise this up a bit. Select both of these. Let's take this one and attach the other one. Then just grab them, vertexes here. We're going to draw them up to that one. Okay. And then we're going to shoo away the Carlton. We're going to select just these two. Oh wait, that's right. We're going to detach. Yes. And we're going to drag them over. And we're going to rotate that one . So there. And lower it. We're then going to attach this one to that one. We're going to rotate it slightly because it's part of a big curving thing. We're going to ignore that for now. This is going to go first. File, export selected, base single arch. Export. Done. Now we're going to select just this one. We're going to center it. And then rotate that stone just a bit. Need to bend it a bit more. So we're going to rotate it a bit more like that. Bring it down to here. And rotate this stone. Then we're going to select all of it. Rotate and center it. And this is going to be our base dual arch. Now you notice that's not a lot of polygons. I mean, if I hit 7, it'll give me a summary. 22,011 polygons, counting our height stick. We select that, delete. Oh look, we've got 30 polygons. Export selected. Base dual arch. Now the single and dual arches are not going to have rocks around their bases. The reason being is because we want these kind of a bit more usable. So let's go ahead and import the single arch first. Frame out. These are going to be able to be placed on any terrain piece you want. Now we're going to Dynamesh 768. And we have, oh wait a minute, no, I didn't want to do that. Import base single arch. Okay. And we're going to split that one from the others. Split mast parts. Okay, now we're going to hide the top one. We're going to Dynamesh it at 128, and we go to polish, and we're going to do what we did before. We're going to start off by doing a rough bit on the edges. Now this may not be the kind of standing stones that the Bossk used. However, it's the kind of stones most people are used to seeing thanks to Stonehenge and a couple other rare henges around the Celtic world. The Bosks were not a Celtic peoples. Among other things, the Bossk language does not come from Indo-European. It is a different language family, or language superfamily, or whatever the term is. They are not Celts. There may have been some linguistic or cultural cross-pollination. I mean, when you live that close, when the Bosks lived pretty close to the Celts in many areas, especially especially closer to the French zones. The Gauls were Celt, but they were not a Celtic peoples. they did have some similarities in their writings from what I could determine while doing research. Yes, always do your research. Some similarities in their writings to Phoenician and some to Greek. But the thing to remember is those similarities were pretty almost basic. It was, it could have been that they had no written language until they encountered the Phoenicians or the Greeks, and they borrowed the Greek or Phoenician alphabet to write their own language with. That's not unknown. Especially in the days before such a thing as widespread literacy. In fact, in the United States, the infamous, not infamous, but the famous man who created a writing system for the Cherokee after being exposed to European writings is an exception rather than the rule. Creating your own language or creating your own alphabet or whatever from scratch is not something that normally happens. It's normally something that evolves over time. Alright. I did the same thing here. I took the sketches, I took the corners and I roughed them up with the polish. I then took clay buildup and dragged all over them. When we compare it to the top bar, now I'm going over here to standard just so I have a nice large brush for rubbing over them to smooth them out a bit. This is just to give us some nice rough surface areas. When I go back in and I hit it with the polish brush again, then it's going to be a lot more rocky and faceted than it was before. So I'm going to hide the top part. I'm going back to polish. Yeah. No. Needs to look like it was quarried back in the day, but has since worn out from exposure to the elements. And that's the whole purpose of this. By doing this, it looks more like rock, and it looks more like rock that's been sitting out exposed to wind and rain and cracks from the water of the rain forcing their way in. I mean, if we look at them now, can just compare the two. You can see how the one that's on the right now actually looks like some kind of giant worn out rock. Now we're going to do the same thing over here with the polish, wearing it down, digging deep in. I should note we have the polish set to subtract, not add. And then one thing we're going to do is after this, we're going to add cracks. There we go. And we're going to add the cracks with the orb crack brush. Let's use the regular one. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to come along here and start light and then go deep. And we're also, like I said, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to emphasize some of these smaller holes here. And the purpose of this is it's the imperfections in the stone, the random erratic aspect of stone. As with the orb cracks 2, the orb cracks brush goes by local normal, so it doesn't use. And we add the top stone. You can see how big the difference is already just between these two, just from a little bit of work. And yep, we're at 5. Now let's go ahead and select him. Select him. And we're going to leave those for frame, not just for the sake of doing it. And we're going to Dynamesh it to 128. And then we're going to the polish brush. And we're going to polish our edges. Now with this one, we're actually going to leave the front and back just a little bit off. We're not going to worry too much about them until we get to the what do you call it, brush? The clay buildup brush. Alright, and here we're gonna kind of pull it out a bit more. It doesn't have on the top or bottom, or the two bottom part. Once again, we're just adding some random geometry surface details with this. And then we're going to come back to here and just give it a brief smoothing overview, just to kind of make sure we get the basic shapes are done. And we go back to polish, shrink it a little, and then we go in to make these capstones into quarried stones that have been worn down over centuries to millennia, to make them look like what people think of when they think of standing stones. Now it's true that something that's made and maintained by long-haired giants that, you know, protect these sacred sites, yeah, they might probably look a lot more polished and less worn and erratic, but again, reality is unrealistic, folks. What that means is something that I learned long ago. People don't want what is real. They want what comes up in their heads when they think of whatever it is that you're doing. Like, a realistic dragon might look more like a pterodactyl than a European dragon, but people don't want pterodactyl dragons. Okay. Now I'm going to do one thing that I didn't do before. I'm going to lower this. So I'm going down to deformation, offset Y. I'm going to just lower it by 1 point each time, just to make sure that it actually kind of intersects. Now, orb cracks. And we have a crack here. A hole here. Let's use the orb cracks 2 to do our holes. Okay. Then we go to our regular orb cracks brush, and we're going to use this, and we're just going to kind of dig in some of these holes. Okay, and then a little bit over here. Frame. And we have our basic single arch stone. We go back up to subtool and we merge down. And then we're going to subdivide it a couple times. And with this arch, we're going to pre-process it to 100K. Some of you might be able to hear the machinery going on at my feet. That is a halfway done FDM print of Grendel. I'm going to put this up for a second. So in this first hour, we made a single standing menhir and a single archway for standing stones. Gonna take a brief break as soon as this is finished saving. Reordering. That's what happens when you call Domino's and they lose your order. You gotta reorder. Writing file to disk, and then they'll have reading go Z file, and we're looking at 99,986 triangles. So we export this as single arch. Get rid of the word base. It's behind my head so you can't see it. Single arch. Take a brief pause here. And so yeah, we're rocking. Yes, I did. Sad to say. To be exact, my photon issue is due to a flaw. The problem is I'm not certain if this flaw is on my screen, the LCD screen, or on the filter between. The bottom is simply the top picture, but made black and white, and the contrast exaggerated, so you can see that ring. The ring is what's blocking light. Inside the ring's fine, outside the ring's fine, but on the actual outline ring, it's not giving off UV light. I don't know. And therein lies the rub. If I get one of the cheap ones off Amazon, I know for a fact it doesn't. It only supplies the LCD screen. What I'm going to do is, when I get a chance, when I get enough time to work on it, which probably won't be for a while, I'm going to completely disassemble that area. And I'm going to try cleaning everything to see if I can get rid of that little circle. So, odds are it includes that little film. It's not the FEP film. It's a different kind of film. Odds are it includes it in the official replacement screen and not in the others, because the others tend to also be for replacing the screen of your smartphone. We don't need this. Anyway. So, basically, I might have to replace the entire assembly if it's something that got in between there and has stuck to both the screen and the film. That's it. It is... When did I get sponsored? Because it's... as a whole, photons are less than a year old. This one, I think it's August? September. So it's about 5 months old. It's July? No, it's July. So yeah. I don't think this is covered under the warranty. I think the warranty only covers parts that are faulty from the factory. This is wear and tear. So, as we've seen, I've done. I did Grendel live. That's the only giant that's going to be done live. I did Beowulf. I did Roland. I did, or am doing, Standing Stones. Now, as I pull up the list of the beasties that I'm making, I'm going to give a rough overview of what I'm including with each of the other giants. Now, the core group is Grendel, Cormoran, who's a Cornish giant, taller than most, but kind of scrawny and got a dead mummified cow wrapped around his neck. He's going to include some peasant and guard casualties, including one that's just a rock with hands and feet sticking out from under it. The Basiclon are coming with the Standing Stones. Farragut includes Roland. And Argus is going to include his Dire Cape Buffalo. Now, there will be stretch goals. Yep. These stretch goals will be additional giants, specifically Polyphemus, the Cyclops that you saw. he's going to come with 2 other giants. To save on risk, I'm just going to pull off the FDM print. Polyphemus is slightly larger than a hill giant. He's going to include a female hill giant. Bash, bash, bash. That is going to represent his wife, Galatea. He's also going to include a smaller, about 10 foot tall Cyclops to represent his chillins. Although you could obviously print them at almost any size. Another giant that is going to be done is... Oh no, this was one, I'm pretty sure I know when this happened. It's not a common issue. I had punctured my FEP film and resin got everywhere. I'm thinking some resin got underneath the screen. Anyway, from Japan we have the Shootin' Doji, a massive Oni, monstrous wide-mouthed face with huge wall eyes, large horns bending back, shock of white hair, and he's going to include a couple Ronin and another regular Oni. Utgard Lok, a frost giant illusionist and king, royal garb, maybe a little misty something rising from one hand, and a short, wide-bladed Viking-style sword. But his add-on will be a giant's throne. And then finally, Okeanos, who is one of the Titans, the largest of all of this set. Imagine 15%, or so imagine 85% human shape, 15% blue whale, covered in royal Greek accoutrements with a sea-based, etc. And he will come with some sea elf warriors that will be his, personal entourage. Now remember, Shootin' Doji, Utgard Lok, Polyphemus, and Okeanos are stretch goals. They are not explicitly going to be made unless I can meet those stretch goals. Okay. There is no reason not to use this. None at all. Unless you're out. Now remember, like I said, each one of these will include adventure hooks, game stats, the basic story of the character, and so on. So, it's getting to be time to go ahead and pop back to ZBrush. And now we're going to import the dual arch. And what we're going to do is we're going to... Okay, that's not working. Alright, how about we do this? Polygroups. Auto group. Okay, now we're going to hide that one. And hide that one. Mask. Click. Subtool. And split unmasked parts. And we're going to turn it off. And now we have 3 of them facing us. And unlike before, they're at different angles. That doesn't mean anything. Dynamesh off. And we got ourselves some geometry now. We switch over to polish. And we do a rough polish on all the sides. Like I said, you can use the same technique to make bricks, cobblestones, whatever. And if you're going to actually do the hard route of making a brick wall and make the actual bricks, one suggestion is make them like this, and you have several different angles you can put them in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 per brick. 8 angles per brick. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to chop off all these corners by polishing them away. And it gives us a slightly irregular look to them. More rocky and less cheap plastic. Because no one has ever made a lasting, a plastic set of standing stones that lasted for 7,000 to 10,000 years. They probably would, but they probably also get knocked over. Or like, someone would think that it was just leftover parts or something and carry it off to be recycled. There. And this one. By doing these individually, even though they're, it's very quick, but it makes them all unique, even though they're starting from exactly the same basic geometry. Because you're never going to be identical to what you did even 30 seconds ago. You're never going to replicate exactly the strokes that you did here. And so the end result is you end up with something that's a lot more individual. Excuse me as I burp. And we sit here and we carve it away. Frame, zoom out, frame, zoom out, and we go back to clay buildup. And once again we sit here and we just add in some random shaping strokes. By doing them kind of vertically, we're kind of helping, the fact that most of your cracks are going to be vertical in something shaped like this. And the occasional loops will help us get those the little hollows, the little empty pieces. Empty pieces where there's holes in rocks. Show must go. Anyway, no parodies. We can't do that because Article 13 is coming. And screw the European Union's Article 13. That's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard of, because there's no provision for fair use for things like reviews or parody. Nothing. If you use it, you get in trouble. And worst of all, with DMCA, the copyright holder is the one who has the responsibility to let the website or host know that somebody's using their services to break copyright. With Article 13, the responsibility is on the host to know everything that's going up on their servers. Know when it's to know always when it's a copyright strike. Now, if you think that won't affect you if you live in the United States, it sure as heck will, because do you remember earlier in the year when you got all these emails from every forum or site or anything like that you'd ever been a part of in your entire life telling you, we've changed our privacy policy? Well, guess what? That's because of lowest common denominator. That's because rather than have privacy policies vary from country to country, they have one privacy policy. And when they had to change it for legal reasons in one country, they change it for all of them. And in so doing, completely change it for everybody. Which means that any rules changes because of Article 13 will affect the entirety of any sites you go to. And now we sit here and we flatten out the fronts again. Flatten out the sides. Make it into stone instead of weird blobby bits. Actually, let's make it bigger so that it's more erratic, more stony. So, yeah. Article 13 is a power grab and a censor's wet dream. I hate it, and I hate the entire concept behind it. Even as someone whose copyrights would technically be protected by this, I hate it. It's stupid. There we go. If you are in the European Union, I am sorry for you. But people are going to be cursing the European Union if they don't rewrite that article. I know they're right now, Article 13 passed, but they're in the process of rewriting the wording. We can only hope that the rewritten Article 13 is not as draconian, includes wordage protecting fair use, and removes the host burden of maintenance and brings it back to the user, not the host. Because you're going to see a lot fewer YouTube videos, you're going to see a lot more empty channels, and as people leave, it may even damage YouTube as a whole. Because people will leave to find other sources that are not afraid of the EU. Okay. Good night, Andy. Now we're going to make the dual arches visible. And now we're going to make these guys. And once we do this, we're going to go ahead actually, that's too big. I found out something today I did not know. Apparently, if you watch the movie Team America World Police, the stones in the cobblestone road that they fight on in Paris, the stones are made to look like croissants. Yes, croissants. Okay, now once again, you see how erratic and random I'm doing this, because it needs erraticness and randomness to really properly look like hewn stone. And most of it's going to be in along the length of it. With some occasional random spiral thingies. And then just to smooth them out with the quickness. I don't need a lot of this. This is just a rough. Okay. And now we go back to polish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Let's make it a lot bigger. And we're just going to kind of rush over the flats here. Rush over the flats here. Rush over the flats here. And rush over the flats on the back. Oh! Then a bit here. And a bit here. And a bit here. And a bit here. Now we make them visible. Frame them. Zoom out. I am very, very likely going to end up adding something to the bottom of this. I'm kind of surrounding this and the other one. But for right now, it's just going to be that. And we're going to the orb cracks brush. And we're going to draw in some of our cracks. And that should be it for now. And we put this up. And we are going to go to the geometry. 768 Dynamesh. And I think I just crashed YouTube, crashed ZBrush. Yep, I just crashed ZBrush. Yay! Oh well. I can do that again. It's, as you saw, it wasn't that hard to do. So I can always go back in and completely redo the standing stones. But yay! Hello, good game hunters. You just saw me crash ZBrush. Yay! Well, isn't that fun? It's 9:37. We got about 20 minutes to shoot the breeze. Is there anything that you want to learn how to do when it comes to sculpting miniatures? You know, whether it's how to do a wood grain, how to do the bark that I did on his club, which you can kind of see it on the FDM print. Yes, this is straight out of the CR10. I haven't even fully removed all of the supports yet, as you may or may not be able to see underneath here. Like underneath this finger here and all that. Mostly because I don't have thumbnails right now, and those are my single biggest tool. Anyway, I've got a little over half done on the FDM print of Grendel. Let me take a piece. Yeah, my CR10's under my desk. Yep. It's going to be done sometime tomorrow morning. I've got it printing slow because I prefer to print the FDM slow. And no, I'm not going to do it again. What do you think I am? What are you staring at, Furball? Come on. Yeah. Come on up. Yeah, there we go. Because we got to have an after-show visit from a Carlton. Yeah. My Kickstarter's not going to be ready until I am close to finished with the basic figures. Simply because if I start it too early, well, I don't have enough art to support getting people's attention. Because I'm not sculpting from concept art. What was that? So, without concept art, all I can show people is the finished products and the works in progress. Now, as for works in progress, they're not that impressive. They're, well, let me see. I think I have an image of what a typical work in progress looks like for these giants. Did I put it in here? No. Where did I put it? I'm trying to find it and I can't find it. Grindle. And I don't got it. Do I down here? Hey, here we go. This this thing right here, I don't think that far left one is going to impress anybody. Not like the right one does. But you can see how I go from I sculpted this on camera. You know, you've seen how I go from that, you know, this one here to this one. And right now, I've also got other projects that I'm being paid for that I need to get done before I can really get started on them. So I would say at the earliest would be late January, sometime in February. So it's quarter till. I need to get some footage. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that for tonight we've made our men here, the single stone, and we've made a single arch, and we finished a third arch, and then I crashed. Ain't it grand? So I'm gonna go ahead and call it an evening for the broadcast tonight. So here we have. I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the what the heck. And I'm gonna count down. And it's going to be, well, boo. Good night, Mark. Game Hunters, you can always, as soon as I'm done, restart the video from the beginning and watch the whole darn thing. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead, and that's going to be on a 1. I go bye-bye. Now it's going to be a 5. That's going to be a 4. That's going to be a 3. That's going to be a 2. And that's going to be a 1. And don't forget, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and look at my new avatar. Hey. Bye-bye.